stadium lights, the free buzz before halftime. My heart racing like it's 4th and 5 on a Midwest Saturday night.
Welcome to Mizzou Storytellers podcast. I'm Loretta Jones with Mizzou Athletics.
I'm Dave Matter with Mizzou Athletics.
That was weird.
Yeah.
That was weird.
You did it, though. It seemed like you were more questioning yourself if you're in the right place.
I have not felt that nervous since the very first time I guest hosted with you.
Who was our guest when we did that?
Andrew Grievers.
Oh, that's great.
I was really I think my face just got hot. I was very nervous that I was going to say the wrong thing.
It might have been my fault. I put a question mark in on the cue card.
It wouldn't be the first time I've done that.
Ron Burgundy.
Welcome to Mizzou Storytellers.
We have got quite a guest today.
I am very excited. I have wanted to know more about this guest for a long time.
Mm-hmm. He is, let's just say, a fan favorite.
Yes.
He's having a very good year.
Yes.
Very productive.
Yes. He is one of the best.
One of the best.
Yes.
As recording this, there's nobody better than him
yes.
at a certain thing.
Correct. Correct. And just an overall great guy.
Yeah. Yeah, really likable. And I was it's funny, he's somebody that when I was on the media side, I interviewed once over the phone. I don't, we'll see if I've only seen him in passing the last couple of years. I don't interact with all of our, I'm just going to say, student athletes all the time. So I don't know if sometimes you're like, we talked once, but I don't know if it's ever even, if there's a connection made or not. But I when I was in the media, my favorite athletes that I ended up rooting for personally were the ones who answered calls and called back. And this guy did. So kudos to him.
I obviously don't have that experience with him, but anytime we do events that have student athlete appearances at them, like when we do our photos on Faro and such, he is always representing his team, and he's always very polite, and he always comes up and asks what he needs to do, engages with the fans, just really
invested in the experience, you know.
Yes.
So why don't we spend some time talking to him?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Tiger fans, say aloha to Hawaiian Bros, where the island-inspired flavors are positively delicious. You'll love favorites like huli huli chicken, luau pig, and the delectable Dole soft serve. Hawaiian Bros, just south of campus on Grindstone Parkway, or order at hawaiianbros.com.
He's a Tiger, he's a captain, he's a Kansan, he's a former four-sport high school superstar. He's a Mays Eagle, and he's the nation's leading three-point shooter. He is Caleb Grill, and he is today's guest on Mizzou Storytellers. Welcome, Caleb. That might be the longest introduction we've ever had for a guest.
I spent some time on that one.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you guys.
Well, welcome to the podcast. Welcome to Hearn Center. You probably don't spend a whole lot of time in this building, do you?
No, only when we come support other sports.
Yeah.
So wrestling, gymnastics, volleyball.
There you go. There you go. Well, hey, we like to just kind of visit here and get you, our guest, a chance to tell their story. So we can talk about the team right now and how things are going, but the idea of this is that fans can listen to it any time of year and always just learn a little bit more about our guest. And you've got a really fascinating story, and I think our fans have really embraced you and your time here, especially this season and how things are going. So just before we dive in, this heater that you're on right now, we're recording this on Thursday, so you've got it. You're leaving town for a game this weekend, so it may not come out until after this next game against Mississippi State. But what's it like to be in the zone that you are in right now, shooting the basketball?
It's a zone I feel like I've been missing throughout my whole college career. I knew I had the ability to stay consistent like this, but I felt like there's a couple things I was missing, and I kind of started towards when I got hurt last year, trying to fix a couple of mechanics within my shot. The most important thing was the base of my shot. I was really narrow with how I shot the ball, and I've been working, and it took a long time really to get used to widening my base out and being more consistent with how I land on my jump shot. So fixing the base of my jump shot has been the biggest difference. I haven't been, jumping and just trying to jump straight up and down and land in the same spot is the most important thing. Not jump and try to fade away, land, or have your legs spread out. Just try to stay up and down the whole thing and be this consistent with your follow through and everything is important, but being consistent with your base has been more important for me to help improve my 3-point shooting.
When you're in a zone like this, do you wish you had more than 2 games a week because you don't want to lose it? because the streak that you're on, not necessarily a streak, but just it just looks like it's going to go in every time.
Yeah, I would say after every single game, especially like if we come off a loss, like I want to play like immediately just because I want that feeling out of my mouth. And honestly, sometimes like I wish the games were longer because just it's fun, and I only have a couple more games left, and I got to embrace every opportunity that I have, and that's what I've been doing throughout the most of the season. Last year, I felt like I was kind of stressed trying to figure out how to fit in because it was supposed to be my last year last season, and so this year I just kind of put away all that stress and just focused on doing what it takes to win and stuff like that, and that's just helped me mentally like stay more consistent with my shooting as well.
For sure.
Well, like I said in the intro, at the time of recording, you are currently the nation's leading 3-point shooter. Did you feel that before it was announced? Like, did you feel like that was going to happen? Did you feel like you were on this heater that was just going to take everybody by storm?
Yeah, I think I put a goal for myself, and I try to achieve goals that I can't make, but I know if I set them really high, like I have more success throughout that. My goal was to shoot 50% from 3 this season, and I'm real close to that right now. And I just got to keep continuing to do what I do and just stay consistent with how I work out and what I do in preparation for each game, and then continuing to work on those shots that I prepared for each game, because the way I prepare going into each game is different. The shots I do the couple days before the game are going to be different because I know how each team has a different defensive strategic plan, and so I know that shots are going to come at different ways. So really just doing that and just focusing on taking the right shots has been helpful and leading me to making as many shots as I've made so far at the percentage that I have.
It's been incredible.
Exciting.
I mean, it really
It's
has
so
been
fun
incredible.
to watch.
All right, let's get a little bit in your story. We mentioned you're from Kansas. In this state, normally we don't take that too well, but we'll make an exception here.
But you know what? Superman was too, and we liked him.
True. Okay,
So,
no, we'll make exceptions. Sure. Tell us about Mays, Kansas, just outside of Wichita.
Yeah, so I lived like at a couple different cities outside of Wichita. I lived in Wichita for a little bit too. My dad is a high school basketball coach, so he's coached at couple different high schools, and he played at Wichita State.
Right.
And then actually my parents met at Butler Community College. They both played junior college basketball together. And unfortunately for my mother, she tore her ACL there, so she didn't continue to play after community college. But my dad ended up going to Marist College in New York, which is, I think, in Poughkeepsie, which is about an hour north of New York City, maybe, approximately. So he was there for a year, and his junior college coach, Randy Smithson at Butler, got the head coaching job at Wichita State. So after 1 year at Marist, he came back to Wichita State and finished out his career there. He redshirted on his transfer season, then he played his last year at Wichita State. So after so he moved back closer to home and, was around my mom, and they ended up getting married, and we've lived there my whole life. We lived, so my dad's from like about 20 minutes east of Wichita. My mom's from about 20 minutes west of Wichita.
Okay.
And so, when I first lived, I lived about 20 minutes south of, so it's called Mulvane is what it's called. Okay. And we lived there. My dad coached at Andover. And so my mom wanted to move closer to her family. So my dad ended up getting a coaching job and a teaching job at Mays, and we lived in a smaller town called Garden Plain, and cause that's where my mom was from. Pretty small town. Like there was only like 30 or 35 kids in my class when we lived there, and my dad was coaching and teaching at Mays while my mom, she was working as like a social worker, trying like what they did where she was is kids who didn't get their high school diploma, like they wanted to come back and get their high school diploma. Like that's kind of what she did. She kind of helped them out, and so she did that for a long time. Then they had like 2 different schools, and they dropped one and they just combined one, and unfortunately like hers dropped. And now she works as a truancy supervisor of the Wichita School District's K through 12. So she's in charge of that. And my dad actually got a coaching job at Garden Plain for a couple years, but he had a hard time finding a teaching job. And it was it was really hard for him, like trying to be in 2 different buildings at the same time. And then the Mays job came back open, and we moved back. We moved into Wichita for a couple years. And because I would say, it's a split school. So there's probably about 2,500 kids through both high schools. And I would say like 80% of those kids live in Wichita. and then maybe 20% live in Mays because of the boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
So we lived in Wichita for our first couple years, and then we were living in a rental house, and we finally found a house in Mays, and so we just decided to move to Mays. So that's kind of how like my life went.
Yeah.
And so yeah.
And you played a little bit of everything in high school, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
How'd you find the time? I mean, you were like
Like
football,
Mr. Athlete.
basketball, track, baseball. And you were really, I mean, I know this about you, but I don't know if a lot of people do. Like, you were a really good high school quarterback.
Yeah, so I think there's one thing that like gets missed out is people start specializing, and I think you lose your competitive nature when you specialize in something because you're really good at one thing in particular, and when you focus your time to that all year round,
Yeah.
I think you miss out different relationships you build with other coaches and other players, teammates, and throughout other kids throughout your high school, and so that's one thing. Like I think that was the most memorable thing is just being able to compete, do different things with a different set of kids throughout my high school. I found a way to become good at football, but I wouldn't say I was necessarily good right away, but it made me like really competitive and wanted me to do well. And same thing with track. Baseball, I only really played baseball my senior year because I was doing AAU basketball like freshman, sophomore, junior year. So I never really had the time really to put in for baseball, and then one of the baseball coaches, he was also one of the football coaches, and he like asked me every year to come play baseball, and then finally my senior year I decided to come play baseball. But for those three sports, I think just learning how to compete in something that you're not as good at is one thing that I really took away, and I feel like it helps carry over to basketball. Finding different ways to compete and finding different ways to win when you're maybe not as good as something, but you can take those things that you learned from other sports and then apply it to basketball.
Sure.
Well, you learn how to compete in track, getting a high jump state title.
Yeah.
Was it 6'8"?
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. Like, just imagine you jumping over half of your teammates.
Yeah.
So then, was there ever a thought of doing anything but basketball in college? Could you have played any of those other sports in college?
I don't know really, but if I would have I feel like if I would have put the time into other sports like I put into basketball, I would have been in a different situation possibly. But I always wanted to do basketball. I always thought it was the most challenging, and I always thought it was the most difficult. And for me, like I love the challenge and I love the difficulty, and I like finding different ways to win. And I felt like with basketball, like it just created like it was the most difficult. Like when I played football, it was like I'm only playing offense. Like I didn't play defense. When we were doing track, it's like I didn't run. All I did was jump. The year I played baseball, I'd pitch, but I didn't hit. And then, but basketball, you had to play offense, defense. You had to do everything. And I liked how you had to be fundamentally skilled in every aspect of the game. And I like that the most. And I like the competitive nature that it brought. So I think that's why I really like basketball the most. And then both my parents played in college, and my dad was also a high school basketball coach. So I feel like basketball is just kind of like in our blood as a family.
Yeah.
Well, and you grew up in that state to the west, and a couple of the schools over there historically have good basketball programs. Did you have one in particular that you followed growing up? Like that was your goal, was I'm going to go play here?
So my dad played at Wichita State, like I mentioned earlier, and honestly, like when I was like in middle school, I think Wichita State was the best team in the state.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they did play Kansas in I don't remember what year it was, but they went to a Final Four like in 2013.
Yeah.
They went like undefeated the next year, and then I think the year after that they played KU in the NCAA tournament and they beat them. So for a while, I feel like I mean when Mizzou left the Big 12, it was like they still didn't like each other, obviously. But I feel like K-State and KU like even ramped up maybe more just because they're in the same league. But then for a while there, it was like I feel like Wichita State and KU almost like had more beef with each other when it came to basketball than K-State and KU. So honestly, like being from Wichita, my dad played there. My grandparents were season ticket holders for Wichita State. I always dreamed and wanted to play at Wichita State, and it never ended up working out. You know, you can't I think you can't bring, every recruiting class is different.
Yeah.
You can't bring a 2-guard in every single recruiting period. You can't recruit a 5-man for every single year. Now it might be a little bit different with how the transfer portal works, but like back then it wasn't quite as crazy like that. So I've been blessed for the coaches that I played for, blessed for the coaches that recruited me, and I wouldn't have it any other way for how it's gone so far.
Did you? Now, your parents both play basketball. Did they have to kind of push you to their sport, or did you just naturally kind of follow their lead, and that's the one that became like your go-to?
I think it was just natural. I think when watching games too, when I like watching sporting events, like I watch anything on TV, what's ever going on. The most enjoyable to watch too has always been basketball.
Yeah.
The one thing I do like about basketball than other sports, I feel like with football you need somebody else there, throw the ball around, or like baseball you need somebody to play catch with. With basketball, all you need is yourself, a ball, and a goal. So I feel like if I was ever like by myself or like wanted to do something, it was the one thing I could go out and do. And I just feel like just kind of like being a part of that basketball family is part of it, but then just like the enjoyment of doing that more than any of the other sports too also is really kind of what drew me to that.
Are you competitive with your brothers too? Do you guys kind of battle each other, try to decide who's the best?
Yeah, I would say it's very, very competitive. We used to have like 2-on-2 basketball games like outside when we had the chance, like with my dad, me, and my 2 younger brothers. So we would do that quite a bit. We would do a lot of other things too with basketball, baseball, football, like everything we did, it was competition. And almost after every single time we played, somebody left upset and mad, and just because if you watch them play too, they're the same way. They have that same fire in them. And my brother plays at Fort Hays State, which is Division II in Kansas. They went to the NCAA tournament last year, and it looks like they're gonna go to the NCAA tournament again this year. So they're really good, and he's having a really good season. And I can see that him getting more comfortable because he's in his sophomore season now, and it's really coming out of him. And then my other brother, who's a senior in high school, he has a lot of fire to him. Defender, plays really hard, and hates losing, I think, more than anybody in the family. So everybody has that edge to them, and I think that's what's pushed us to become better. And I think us pushing each other has really helped us, growing up and getting better and competing against other people.
How do your
Bless your mom.
Oh
That's all I
yeah.
gotta say.
How
Bless
do your
your
parents pick and choose which games they go to? Because you just can't be in 2 places at once. Do they split up sometimes and some go to your game, some to your brothers?
Yeah, so it's difficult. So my dad's still coaching high school.
Yeah.
So he's at every one of my high school brothers' games. You know, those 2 are coaching, and some of the road games for us are harder to get to.
For sure.
Like when I was in the Big 12, it was easier to travel, and that was kind of like when I was in high school, that was kind of a reason why I wanted to stay in the Big 12, because we knew we had Kansas, K-State, Oklahoma State, even like TCU and Baylor were relatively close.
Yeah.
So that was part of it. There was a lot closer travel. So in the SEC, there's a lot of schools that are further away. You still got Mizzou that's close, Arkansas, Oklahoma, but outside of that, everything else is pretty much further away. And so that gives my mom an opportunity to maybe go see my brother Kyle play, who plays in the MIAA, which there's a lot of Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma schools. So his games are a lot closer, and they're on the road. And obviously he was in Fort Hays, so that's only about 2 hours and 15 minutes. So that's easy to get up to a game and back. So I think my mom is so busy. Like, I mean, she tries to make everything work, everything she would be in 3 places at once if it was possible.
Yeah.
I think all my brothers would be like that, and I think my dad would be like that too. But she really makes it a priority to get to all of our games, and being able to see her in the stands it's just like, it's refreshing being able to have that support that she has for us. And then when my brothers and my dad can make games, it's always great seeing them too. But my mom especially, she's she travels like crazy, takes time off of work, and when she comes back to work, she has a lot of work to do. So I mean, I just can't thank her and appreciate her enough for all she does, making it to all of our games.
Well, and she probably never thought that there would be a second year that she would have 2 sons in college playing basketball at the same time. She probably thought, okay, I got 1 year that I got to do this, and then it's just free after that. But yeah, I mean, that leading to like how, I'm trying to figure out the best way to say this. What was it like realizing, okay, I'm going to get a 6th year? Like, I'm going to get to redo this after, it was the SEC Big 12 game. Was that when you hurt your wrist?
I got hurt in the Wichita State game.
Wichita State.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's, that's right.
Of all the games.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that happens, and you think, okay, maybe I can rehab, come back. Then you're realizing that's not going to be the option. Like, what was it like when you said, okay, I'm going to come back for 1 more year?
I would say the first thing is like, damn, I'm old. Like,
I wasn't gonna say anything.
I
Like,
mean,
like you
I
don't
was
see
trying to
it.
do the math when you said when I was in middle school, and I'm like, wait, you're almost 25. Like, what?
But I think college is trending in more of a professional, from all levels. With the roster limits now, it's almost like it's just changing. College is changing. It's not what it used to be. Like even when I was talking about how people were recruited in high school, that was 2019, 2018, 2019, which seems for me not that long ago, but that's 6 or 7 years ago, and I think it's just changing into more of like a professional level. And honestly, like some people will say like, oh, like man, they're too old. Like it should only be like 19 through 22-year-olds, but it's turning into more of like a professional level. And with NIL, kids are coming back to college using all their eligibility because people are taking advantage of that opportunity to get a head start on life, and then just being able to compete at the college level because college athletics. I mean, I think the heart and souls of all fans are poured into that more maybe than almost professional levels, and I think the love and support that college athletes get, they like being around that, and it's a fun environment to be around, and I think it's just turning that way. But when I got that 6th year, I just wanted to compete a full year at Mizzou.
Yeah.
And what was that process like? Like, what did you guys have to do?
We had to file some waivers and to get the medical hardship, and luckily for me, it was pretty easy because like I fit the whole criteria. I had surgery. I played under the certain amount of games to get that. So for me, my process wasn't as difficult as maybe others were. So I was excited when I got that news back. I was going to come back, and I just wanted to pour like everything into this season and do my best one of my goals was to become the team leader, team captain. I was able to accomplish that with Jeremy and Tamar. And the one thing I really wanted to do was, help guide, because we have so many younger guys that came into the program, and help lead them and show them the ways. Like I know I may not be the most talented, most athletic, whatever, but I know how to win, and I just wanted to put that into the younger guys. And when they figure out how to win, I think they can help elevate the program even to another level. And so that's one thing I really wanted to come back and show my leadership skills, and then try to teach them different ways and tricks to win games.
And I think it's working. I think you are successful so far.
I would say so. So going back a little bit, so you started Iowa State, go to UNLV, back to Iowa State. What led you here? I remember talking to you back when I had my old job in the media when you transferred. And you had mentioned how Iowa State played here in the SEC Big 12 Challenge. That might have been what you were referring to. But I think you missed that game.
Yes.
But you still witnessed the environment.
Yes.
What do you remember about the decision? What about this place was the right stop for you?
Well, I would credit Iowa State. It's a real the basketball field there. It's like it felt like every time we stepped out onto the court, like at home, we weren't losing. Like this is our place. Like our fans are going to show up. They're going to be loud. They're going to be obnoxious. And I felt like it was kind of like that here when we came and played. There's some other spots like that I've played at. Mizzou fans may not like this, but KU's like that. West Virginia was like that. Texas Tech was like that. Those were some Big 12 spots. And when I was looking for somewhere else to find, I was like, I want to be able to be a part of atmospheres like that and be able to compete in those type of environments. And I remember, Mizzou was like that when we played them. It was sold out. The Antlers were, heckling us like no other. And then regardless of all that, so that was a part of it. Wanting to be a part of a crowd and a fan base that's really invested in their team. So I knew I wanted to be a part of something like that, and then I wanted to also be a part of a different league too. I could have maybe stayed in the Big 12 because I liked the league. I liked whatever. I knew the league, but there was also a part of me that wanted a new start and a fresh start. And Mizzou being in the SEC, I knew it was. For a while there, it was Big 12, SEC, two best conferences, and now this year I think SEC is officially capped that. Now they're the best league in the country. So I wanted to still compete at the very highest level, and Mizzou being in the SEC and being relatively close to home was something that was really appealing to me. And then getting to know Coach Gates, the rest of the staff, and the players when I came on my visit, it felt like it was a place where I could come fit in and have a new fresh start, and it's something that I feel like has really helped benefited me and my family. And I'm just doing everything I can, pouring everything into the team and to Coach Gates and the fans to try to make it the best for them, and then just make it the best for everybody else, and everything's going to work out itself.
Yeah, no doubt. What is it about your relationship with Coach that's special? Because you talked about it a couple weeks ago after a game or a press conference, and you watch, interact, and you just listen to Coach speak the way he talks about you. Like, you guys really have something there. Tell us about that relationship.
Yeah, I would say we created a really good relationship, and then our relationship really got stronger when I got hurt last year, and I didn't know what that was going to look like. It could have been easy for Coach really to put his time and effort into the players that were playing, and me with the trainers, and trying to get back healthy and rehab and all that. But Coach Gates really invested a lot of time into me. When that happened, he came up to me and told me that I was like an intern coach, is like how he kind of wanted me. And that's really what kickstarted like my leadership role for like this team and for the program. And being able to watch and observe him every day, it's because I want to be a coach one day too, but being able to like watch his interactions with players. So I would like watch practice, but I would put more of my focus like on the coaches and like see how they like observe practice and how they like. I can see why he thought that right there, like versus when you're playing. When you're playing, you're in the moment. You can't really see everything, but when you have that bird's eye view and you can see how he interacts with people and why he sees it that way, I felt like we started really connecting and started speaking the same language like on the basketball court. So that built up throughout the season last year, and then trying to help out those guys last year, and then leading into the spring workouts after the season. He kind of talked about wanting us players to be like an extended version of himself, and that's one thing that I've really tried to do, is try to be another voice that's like him, because it can be hard for certain players, to hear Coach Gates on them all the time. So I think if a player can go up, I think the message can become better from player to player. And then it won't be as like demoralizing maybe for some players, like, man, like Coach is always on me. But if us players can help Coach and see something before he sees it, I think they can learn from it faster, and then I think it helps improve like your chemistry throughout the team. So I just feel like being an extension of him and trying to do my best to be an extension of him has really helped our relationship. And then obviously being out there for pretty much the full season this year, I feel like that's just been helped continue in our relationship and how we see things.
Yeah.
This episode of Mizzou Storytellers on the Inside Mizzou Athletics podcast is brought to you by Sophia's and Addison's Restaurants. Sophia's and Addison's Restaurants are great local spots to visit before or after all Mizzou home games. Addison's has 2 locations in Southwest and downtown Columbia and features over 20 beers on tap, including local brewers and, of course, their famous Nachos Bianco. So remember, before or after the game, stop by Addison's.
So you said for most of the season, that's one thing that people are going to want to talk about was your injury against Lindenwood.
Yeah.
That was one of the scariest sports injuries I've ever seen. What was it like in the moment? Like, when did you realize that it wasn't as serious as maybe you initially thought it was going to be?
So in the moment, I honestly didn't know if I was ever going to play again, like, because you just never know with a neck injury.
Yeah.
And fortunately, when I got to the hospital, we did x-rays, CT scans, and an MRI. So we did it all. And, the good news is there was nothing broken in my neck, just like a real bad case of whiplash. And they told me I was going to have to be like in a neck brace for, I don't know, 2, 3, maybe 4 weeks. So the worst part about it was honestly just missing like the Kansas and Illinois game, because there was one thing I really wanted to come back for, and that was I missed both of those games last year. And those were 2 games I really wanted to be a part of. And so that was the worst part about that, is just not being out there for those 2 games. But it helped me learn how to lead too, like from the bench. And like last year, I got those extra reps of where maybe when you're playing, you don't see it, but when you're sitting out, you see everything. And so it helped me improve as a leader, like those 4 or 5, however long I was out for, I don't even know, but
5 games.
5 games, yeah. But for however long it was, it helped me improve as a leader. And so when I was able to come back, it was honestly kind of nerve-wracking at first, because just like if I wasn't, like when I first came back, if I wasn't ready for contact, like I could like feel like my neck like kind of shift away I didn't want it to feel. But so for those first couple of games, it was kind of nervous. Like if I was about to have contact, like I had to like be ready for it, and then it wouldn't hurt as bad. But now I'm feeling like back to normal. So it's been all good since I would say Vanderbilt game-ish around there. So.
It was. I can't imagine what it was like for you. And I don't think your mom wasn't there that night, or your parents weren't there.
No, they weren't there.
Oh,
so
gosh.
my brother, he came home for a couple days for Thanksgiving, and so they just decided to stay home.
Yeah.
So were they watching the game on TV?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
Ooh.
It's got to be frightening for parents.
Yeah, I know they were pretty nervous. So I know they were asking if they wanted to come up, and I told them I'm in good hands. Like I trust all these coaches because after the game they all came and visited me after,
Yeah.
and so I felt comfortable with them, and they felt comfortable with how they were taking care of me, and just showing up and being positive for me. So
Yeah.
I think it was just like it's like another reason why I came here is just like the coaching staff and how they are as people, and just a moment like that, it just like makes me just know that I'm safe here, and then my parents feel that safety with me being around them as well.
Yeah, well, that's as quiet as I've heard Mizzou Arena. I mean, it was scary at the moment. I was there, and in real time, it was hard to see because it happened so fast. But then you watch a replay.
Oh, the replay
my
looks
gosh.
awful.
Yeah, I
Did
didn't
you
wanna watch
did you
that again.
lose any feeling in like your hands or your legs or your feet? Like, was there ever a moment where you're like, oh, I can't feel that or I can't move?
No, I felt like I couldn't move my head though, like just because of like what happened initially, and they were just like, don't move, don't move, don't move. So, honestly, just laying there for that long, like I didn't realize how long I was. It didn't, like it felt
Yeah,
like
it
it
was
felt
a
like I
while.
was there for a long time, but honestly, no, I never lost any like feeling in my arms, legs, or anything like that. It was just like the back of my neck really was just what was hurting the most. I felt like I couldn't move it even when I was going to my weekly checkups. Like that was still like the most painful part until
Oh, man.
it was just like those back muscles a part of it.
As bad as it was missing those games, how much did you hate having to wear that neck brace? Because that did not look comfortable.
I think the
I'm
yeah.
not laughing, but I mean,
No,
it's,
but
No,
yeah,
it's
it's
okay.
fun.
Now, well, looking back on it, you can joke about it because nothing serious came of it.
Yeah.
But honestly, the worst part of it was like you don't realize how much you use your neck until you're restricted like
Yeah.
that, and it's just uncomfortable. Like everywhere you go, like someone's like what is this guy like? Why has he got a neck brace on? And like, so I think that's just the worst part is because you don't realize how much you use your neck. So
Yeah.
like I tore my oblique one time at Iowa State, and you don't realize how much you use your abdomen muscles either when you do stuff like that. So like I couldn't drive because like when you turn the wheel, like you can't like use your abdomen muscle. Like it was just like all these things like you were like, wow, I didn't realize I use those muscles for. And then like when I got my neck injury, it's like you just don't realize how much stuff you use with your neck. And when you turn like to go see somebody or like turn around, like you like just use your whole upper body. Like you don't
Yeah.
use like your neck muscles to like turn and look at somebody. So it was just the uncomfortability part of it was honestly the worst part.
After that, at the end of the Kansas game, and obviously you remember this because you were there. But
Yeah.
when we're trying to get first, we got Kansas bench off the court field because we knew the students were coming down. But then somebody was very smart. It might have just been you to get you out of there too, with about a minute to go, just because like you're already in a neck brace. We
Somebody
don't
was
need
gonna
to risk
find you.
anything.
Yeah,
even
so
further.
it was kind of discussed before the game because we were excited. We had a good feeling. I knew we had a good game plan coming in. It was kind of discussed with the athletic training staff,
Sure.
with Chris Perrin, Sean Conady, and so we were talking about it, and Jason Calderon, one of our interns of our strength and conditioning. So we kind of all met before the game. They said, hey, if we're about to win and there's enough time, it'd probably be smart to get you off the court before
Yeah.
anybody else. So with about 30 seconds when we felt good about it, and because they made a run right there, I was getting a little nerve wracking, but
We all were.
anyways, when we felt comfortable, like we had we felt like we had it, and we felt like we secured it. So
Yeah.
I was left with probably about 30 seconds left in
Yeah.
the game, and so it was. I wish I could have been out there
I was
for
gonna
that
say, was
moment.
that hard to not be out there?
It was
to-
hard, but then again, like I was standing there and I just saw everybody flood it like from a different view, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So.
There was a moment there where you were in the tunnel in those last 30 seconds, and Hunter Dickinson had just fouled out, so he was back there too, and you were just standing next to each other. Like, that is very a surreal scene right now.
Yeah. So, no, but that game was just awesome, and I think I was more happy for everybody else because at Iowa State, I got the chance, to play against them multiple times, and
Yeah.
we beat them before. So, seeing everybody else live that moment of beating Kansas, and especially like wearing the Missouri uniform, I was really excited for everybody else, and everybody was taking it in,
Yeah.
from the coaching staff to the players to the managers, and just
Yeah.
seeing how excited everybody was after that moment was honestly the best part about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. We talked about your 3-point shot. How I think your best season before this year was like 37%. Now you're at like almost 50.
Yeah.
And you didn't start off this year shooting it great. So when did the transition? Was it stuff you worked on in the off season and just finally caught on this year, or did you kind of switch some things up during this season?
It was more during the off season.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I've never started off the season good shooting from three. I remember at Iowa State, I was like 4 for 24 from three, and we played our first 4 games, and the next game we played was against North Carolina, and they're number 1, and I had 7 threes that game, and I ended up shooting. I was in the 40s for most of that season, and then the last couple games, I think I maybe had like 0 for 3, 0 for 2, and ended up maybe around 37%, like you said.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I don't know why, I've always struggled to start the season off. I think just the jitters of getting back into it, and shooting, it's like small, like just a small little, like no matter where it is and throughout your shot, like a small little thing that you don't do, prepare like the way you have been, like that's lowers your risk a lot of going in the basket. So being able to just get those in-game reps back, and then missing the whole, like Coach Gates brought up a good point, I think after the Howard game. He said, you haven't played in a game since December. Like, I know you're expecting to do good things and do great things throughout the year, but you haven't played a game in December. Like, I know you weren't expecting this, but everybody else here, we were expecting it just because you haven't played a game in so long. And I just kind of sat there and was like, yeah, you're right. I had maybe higher expectations for myself, wanting to do better than I did last season. And then after that moment, I just kind of sat back, relaxed, and kind of quit thinking about offense as much and putting as much emphasis on offense and more just into leading and winning games. And it's just been taking care of itself.
Yeah.
Well, and you kind of embrace that role of just coming off the bench, after injuries and slow starts. Do you think that as a younger player, you would have been able to handle it as well? Do you think coming in your freshman year, you would have been able to handle that bench role?
Yeah. I mean, I've only really started maybe 2 seasons in my college career, so it's I would say no matter what you do, if you just find different ways to impact winning, no matter if you play 30 minutes or 10 minutes, I think each minute you play is valuable, and you can impact a game a totally different way. And I think the best teams in the country have guys who can accept their roles and do as much as they can with the amount of minutes they get, whether they get 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever. I think no matter how much you get, if you can impact it the way you're supposed to, it's going to be really difficult to beat you no matter who you are, what jersey you're wearing. So if you just go out there with the time you get, and that's just kind of what I think about. Like, if I go out there with the time I get, do what I'm supposed to do on the offensive end and the defensive end, not do anything wrong, I think it just puts myself in a position maybe to get some more playing time, but it also puts our team in a position to win more games down the stretch.
Yeah.
You play with a lot of fire out there. It's under control, but it's just a lot. I mean, you show your emotions out there. Is that the style you've always had? And is it hard to play that way? And then also, you got to be composed enough to make those shots too. I mean, where's the balance?
Yeah, so I just think that's how it's supposed to be played. You're supposed to have that competitive edge to you. I don't appreciate myself if I go out there and I don't play like that. When I go back and watch a game, if I see moments where I'm not doing that, it's like the biggest critique I have on myself is not playing that way. Because the thing about basketball that I love, other sports are different, maybe like individualized sports, you can control your own emotions, play how you want with your own emotions. But with basketball, if you're not giving it everything you got, you're letting everybody else around you down. And that's one thing I don't want to do is let the others around me, and I try to make as many plays as I can to help our team win and put other people in a situation to succeed as well. So that's really the main reason why I come out with that edge. And basketball is just such a competitive and fast sport that if you don't play with that edge and that fire, I think you're at a disadvantage after.
Yeah.
And I think the you've caught on with the Antlers. You've had your fun with them after the game, and those are good guys to have on your side.
Yes.
Not sure they were when you were a visitor here. A couple years ago.
So they're all good. I mean, I just have a lot of respect from last year they were always showing up, and even last year we had so many injuries last season, and that was devastating for everybody. And they were still showing up, and they were at every single game, and even this year. It can be hard to come to some of those buy-in games.
Yeah.
So for them to just show up, and they're the same every game, no matter who you play. And I think their consistent energy is something that we really admire, and I think they're probably the best leaders of a student section in the country, just for how they prepare for games like how we prepare for games,
Yes.
and with their signs, their outfits, whatever they decide to wear, but they prepare like they're playing the game,
Yeah.
and they do their best to be that sixth man for us, and it's hard not to play good when you have people like that in the student section leading all the other students to be loud and have different, I would say different chants, but whatever they do, but they're the best, and giving them love and support is one thing we can do for how much love and support they give to us as well.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Believe it or not, they've calmed down over the years.
Yeah, that's I've heard stories. So
It used to be pretty
Just a
crazy.
bit.
Just
Yeah.
a little bit.
All right, we diving into
Rapid fire?
yes. All right,
Okay.
5 quick questions. You don't have to spend a lot of time thinking about these. You
I guess
starting?
I'll do odd because I think you wrote the evens.
Sure.
Okay. Best meal in Columbia? Not necessarily like a restaurant, but like a meal that you would have somewhere in Columbia.
special occasion, or
Doesn't matter.
I would go to Cece's.
But like, what's the meal? What would you get?
I would get a steak, mashed potatoes, and like asparagus or something like that.
Okay.
That's my favorite combo right there.
I think
Like
the
what-
student athletes we've had in here are 3 for 3 on picking CCs.
CC's and a steak. So what kind of steak though? What's your cut?
I like fillets and ribeyes are my 2 favorites. So just whatever I'm feeling, I guess.
Yes. Okay.
Ooh, okay. If you could play one-on-one with any basketball player, past or present, who would you choose?
I would say Michael Jordan, because I feel like he was arguably maybe one of the best one-on-one scorers ever, and being able to learn from him and see how because like it wasn't like he was the best scorer, like he was also one of the best defenders ever. And then like his mindset, like when I listen and watch him play or speak, like that's the mindset like I try to have. I'm not nearly as talented, but like he had that fire in him, and that's kind of like how I try to play with
Yeah.
that same fire.
So word on the street is that you get to pick the music on Wednesdays in the weight room. That's what I've heard. So I want to know, like, what's your favorite song to get hyped up? Like, what's your song?
Honestly, my favorite song to get hyped up is one by Metallica.
Okay. Do you play that in the weight room on Wednesdays?
Sometimes it comes on, so we have like a playlist that we like to listen to of music kind of like that.
Okay. Which one? Which song by Metallica?
He said one.
One.
Oh, one. I thought you said one song by Metallica.
One. So that's my favorite. So that's probably my favorite song.
You think
The
he's
senior
your
moment
old-
over
no,
here.
Dave's the old one in the room.
I'm not too old for Metallica. Come on. All right. Best advice you've ever been given?
Honestly, when I was young, so I matured super late, and I was small. I was 5'9" as a freshman, 5'5" in 8th grade, 5'2" as a 7th grader, and all these kids are starting to hit puberty, and I felt like I was like, man, like I'm falling behind. And my dad said, just keep up with them. I was a late bloomer, just keep up with them. And I think it's something that like a lot of kids who maybe get down on themselves, who are smaller than everybody else, just one thing he told me, keep up, because once you grow, you're gonna excel. And most kids start getting recruited when they're freshmen and sophomores, and I didn't really reach my peak until I was junior or senior. And so I kept up, and then when I hit my growth spurt, like I started playing at a much better level. Like I became more athletic than the people, and now I was the same size as them, and I felt like I took off. And so I feel like when you're growing up, like both my parents, I would say, said it, but keep up with the people, because kids were getting like 6 foot in 8th grade, and I was only like 5'5". They're like, just keep up with the same level. And then by the time I was a senior in high school, they were maybe 6'1", and I was 6'3", and it was a different level. So just honestly, that advice growing up, and that made me, I feel like that, like when you talk about my fire, I feel like I had to play like that when I was younger too, so
Yeah.
I could keep up. And then now, kids are, I don't have the opportunity to keep growing, but sometimes you get in a one-on-one matchup with a kid who's 6 inches taller than you, and you have to play that way, or else he's going to
Yeah.
win the matchup.
I'm still holding out hope I can get a little taller.
I
So
think your growth plates have closed.
never give up. Keep up.
All right. Where do you see Mizzou basketball in 5 years?
I see Mizzou basketball in 5 years as top quarter, not top half, but top quarter in the SEC. I see it as a nationally ranked program that's making it to the second weekend in the NCAA tournament, pushing for the Final Fours. And I think with Coach Gates as the leader and the support staff that he has around him, assistant coaches, and the culture that we have, it's something to where when people buy in, it's going to be really tough to beat. And just seeing how home court has been this year, it's going to be one of the toughest places to play in the country, and I think it'll be a national, one of the best teams in the country every year.
I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. Good answer. Okay, now the final part of this is you need to put your photo up on the board. You get 3 choices. Here you go. Why don't you hand those over to Caleb?
I don't know when this became a look, but I think a lot of guys your age are doing this. So that's your option. The like mullet mohawk. Does that have a different name? Because that's what it looks like to me.
No, I don't know.
That one or that one?
I think I'm going to have to go with this one.
Okay.
All right, well, you get to hang it yourself.
Okay.
Okay, now be careful. This thing is very delicate. No one has knocked it down yet.
Okay.
There you go.
This was really only one spot.
Well, there, yeah, we kind of made some room. Yeah. Yeah, if it falls, you're in trouble. Did you give him a push pin? It doesn't work. Okay, there you go. Awesome. Well, Caleb, this was a lot of fun. Great to have you on. I got to say, like I was telling Jason, I had this theory the other day. Jason Vanesky, our extraordinary basketball communications director, who's in the room. He's pretending like he doesn't hear us.
SID, we know what that means.
Oh, yeah. Last week, Bob Brendel told us what SID really means. Norm Stewart's version of it. It included a swear word, so we're not going to say that about you. We were talking the other day, and there's this myth, I think, that older fans have, that the transfer portal is like bad for college sports because you never get to know these players, which I say that's not true at all, because you watch our fans, and whether it's you or Tamar or Mark Mitchell or Josh Gray, if you guys are playing well and you're playing a good brand of basketball and you're charismatic and you're winning, it doesn't matter if you've been here 3 weeks or 3 years. So that's what, like my little one, Will Matters, 8 years old, you're his favorite player. You guys picture with him a couple games ago. And like he doesn't care how long you've been here. He just loves watching you play. So like that's where I think sometimes the transfer portal and like modern college student athletes get a little bit of an unfair rap, because if you're putting on a good show and you're doing good things and making people smile, it doesn't matter how you got here or when you got here. So
No,
I think
agree.
you're like the perfect example of that.
Yeah, I think, everybody wants to be a part of a program where they really feel like they can excel, and I think this is a place where a lot of people feel like they can excel. So
Yeah.
it's hard not to run through a wall for Coach Gates and his coaching staff, and no matter if you've been here 1 year, 4 years, however long you've been here, I think everybody has that same feeling and attitude going into every single game.
Yeah, it's been awesome to watch, and can't wait to
It's
see
so
how this story unfolds the rest of the way.
Yeah, thank you. I
All
appreciate
right.
it.
All right.
Thanks, Caleb. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
This episode of Mizzou Storytellers on the Inside Mizzou Athletics podcast is brought to you by Shelter Insurance. Ranked number 1 in customer satisfaction for auto insurance in the Central Region by J.D. Power 5 out of the last 6 years. We're your shield. We're your shelter.
What a guy.
Caleb Grill, what a guy.
That was super cool.
Yeah, he was great. Thanks to Jason for setting that up. It is the kind of the bye week for the basketball team, men's basketball, because they don't have the midweek this week. So
I love that. That's a bye week for basketball. That they play so much that it's like it's a bye day.
yeah, well, yeah, but Caleb was great, and I have to apologize. Like I didn't hear him say one by Metallica. I thought he
No,
said
you did hear him say one by Metallica.
one by Metallica, like a one song by Metallica, not the song one.
It's a senior moment.
Well, I mean, I'm old, but Caleb's not like he's young.
When he said that, I laughed. I thought, dang, I'm old. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh God, you're not old.
He's older than half my staff,
Yeah,
probably.
yeah, I would say so.
I wanted to look this up. I didn't want to embarrass him. How many NBA players is he older than, do you think?
It's got to be a lot.
Yeah.
It's got to be. I mean, it's probably a decent handful, but at the same time, now the last couple years, this is what's been happening: is college
Exactly.
players
And
are trending older.
And
Yeah.
he explained
like you
why
said,
we had
so
you
your
had COVID,
NBA players are going to be older.
COVID plus he had an injury and he was able to get the medical hardship, and he, and he wanted to come back and have another experience of college basketball, which is great. And I really meant what I said about the transfer portal, like the criticisms of it, like. 8-year-old Will Matter doesn't care how long he's been here. He
No.
loves them. He loves watching them. His favorite part of the game, he nudges me, and he watches the first 2 minutes of the bench because he wants to know when Caleb's going. And he'll hit me like, Caleb's going in. Caleb's going in. I'm like, I know. Here you go. Which is awesome. Like that, I think we get caught up sometimes, and we struggle to adjust to the nuances of college athletics, but the younger generation, to the ones we want to grow up on the
Right.
sports, it's just college sports to them.
Well, and with anything, there's always going to be people abusing the system, but it was put in place with good
Intention.
intent.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and it is like he said, you have to find a program that you fit in with, and I think sometimes that can be a lot. He said, most kids start getting recruited when they're 14, 15 years old.
Yeah.
I didn't know where I wanted to be in 10 years when I was 14 years old. I
Right.
didn't know if I would fit in there or what it was going to be like.
Yeah, yeah. And I didn't want to talk about last season a whole lot, just the struggles the program had, but would have been nice to have a Caleb Grill, when that last year. So I think it gives us a little bit more perspective on, what was missing last season, and now that you have a healthy version of him. But also, and Jason, I'll give him credit because he was making this point the other day. Caleb's not the player he is now had he not gone through last season and gotten that opportunity to sit on the
Exactly.
bench and watch the game for the first time in a long time, learn from it, develop his basketball IQ. And then, like he said, he kind of he changed his jump shot a lot, and it's absolutely paying off. I mean, does he ever shoot where you think, oh, that's not going in? Every time you're like,
No.
I'm surprised when they don't.
Now, there are definitely some that he shoots, and I'm like, what? Seriously? And
Yeah,
then it hits, and you're like...
There's a few
okay.
Steph Curry, closer to half court than 3-point line. And
And then I forgot to bring this up. One of my favorite things to do is to watch him in that back pedal.
oh,
After he hits it, like every single time he back pedals.
yeah, and he said he's not a dunker. He's put down some pretty impressive dunks this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was dunking when he hurt his wrist last year, so maybe he's got to be a little careful. Yeah.
Maybe that's why he's not a dunker.
Yeah.
He had a
yeah.
dunk. It was in warm-ups, like one of the early games, and we were up in the suite, and everybody was like, "Who in the heck just did that?" And we're like, "That was Caleb Grill." Like, I mean, he probably surprised himself, I guess. Then
Well,
but
'cause we
he's a good dunker.
Nice
haven't
humble,
really-
nice humble brag there. I
Yeah.
was up in the suite.
Right. We haven't really
with
gotten
our
to see
clients,
him
with
play.
our
I
Mizzou Sports
know.
Properties,
I know.
where we host clients.
Of course.
If you're interested, just reach out. So
Yeah, I don't feel like I saw a whole lot of clients up there last time I was up there saying, hey.
Oh,
but-
come on. Speaking of clients, I think I can say this. Has anybody been to the new Sophia's yet?
No.
I've not. They just had their soft opening.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Were the Matters
the
there?
matters were there.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's also
pretty
a humble brag.
good.
I don't have anything to humble brag about right
Shout
now.
out Matt Jenny and the crew. Morrison family was right there behind me. We were. It was good. Really
love
good.
me some
Great.
Sophia's.
Great decor. Everything's a little more modern. It was. It's good. Still a sponsor, right, Steve?
Absolutely.
Okay. There
I
you
love
go.
Sophia's, man. That was a hot spot in college. That was our pregame meal for a while.
Really?
Yeah.
Pre-game volleyball?
Yeah, we would get Sophia's. It was a big jump from the year before. I think it had been like Fazoli's. like
Man,
But
correct
if-
low
if-
budget went
I was
way up
gonna say,
that
like,
year.
if any like one comment defined them, it was that it's like sometimes we went Fazoli's, sometimes we went Sophia's.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was McDonald's on the road. Sometimes it was Longhorn. Like
Yeah. Well, Wayne's a pretty adaptable guy. He can,
I can't say that Wayne often ate when we
Well, he
stopped.
just doesn't appear that he eats very often.
I'll never forget his most favorite meal in Columbia is a break time cheddar jalapeno hot dog. That was
Did he
was
say
the
that on the
best.
Yes, he
yes,
did.
yes.
Yes, he did.
And Susan was like, "Yep, that's
Yep.
it. Yep."
That's on brand. That's on brand.
Yeah. That's great. What else is going on? Big news this week.
Oh, huge.
Huge news. Major, significant gift
Yes.
from Mrs. Walton.
Yes. Amazing. Audrey Walton is a blessing.
Yeah, absolutely. New outdoor track coming soon. New field surface for women's soccer. Of course, the stadium there is named after Mrs. Walton, as it was built in 1996, I believe. That was my
Correct.
freshman year at Mizzou.
Correct.
Dating myself a little bit. Yeah, so those have needed some upgrades, and fortunately, she shout out to Deputy AD Eric Morrison, of course, our AD Laird Veach, for their really long relationship that they've had with the Walton family to to help secure that donation, and really, really great for our programs.
Just so excited to see both of those programs getting a facelift on their facilities. After we got this new indoor track here for track and field, now they're going to have an outdoor space
Yeah.
as well. Soccer's going to get the upgrade that they've been wanting. It's going to be so cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. So I got to be part of really cool thing the other day. One of the coolest things I've seen since I've been at Mizzou is Laird got to share that news with the student athletes from track and field and soccer.
Oh, fun.
And they had no idea.
Were they in a joint meeting
Yes,
together?
yes. A
So
few
they're
of them-
probably wondering what that means.
Yes,
Yeah.
a few of them were on Zoom, but most of them were in the Onofrio meeting room, and Laird got to break the news, and that room just erupted. And even the ones who are probably seniors and aren't going to necessarily get to compete on those surfaces, but it was a cool moment. Like there's so much emphasis on football and men's basketball, and football is so heavy now in the modern college athletics because of all the financial things that we've talked about a lot. But those programs deserve great treatment, great facilities too, and it was awesome to see.
Absolutely.
What else is going on?
Well, I feel like I always bring in like the crazy stories.
Okay, you
but
got one?
It's not even like a personal crazy story. It's just something, we talked about like, the craziest sport injuries we've ever seen and like just horrific things, and just being in athletics for as long as I have been. I saw, obviously not in person, but saw like what I will call now like the new craziest thing I've ever seen happen in a sporting event. The Duke player vomiting
I was
on the
watching that.
court.
I've never seen.
I've literally
that
never seen that
before.
happen.
I've seen people puke in football games
Or you see him like running. They might be like running off the court, or
Yeah.
he just stood there
right under the hoop,
and just puked.
all over that nice
It
floor.
took like 40 towels to clean that
oh
up.
my
Well,
gosh.
and then the poor guy that they were playing, he like steps back and slips and looks down. I'm surprised he didn't throw up.
Yeah. Then they had a young student in student section passed out.
Yeah, same game.
They had to carry her out. Yeah. Yeah, it was wild. I've never been to a game there.
She got like fireman carried her out.
Yeah, it was scary.
It was so
Tough place to play. It sounds
apparently,
like. Tough place to watch a game. It
Place
sounds
to-
Yes.
everything. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's what's up here. Like I just have been, I mean, I dare say like dwelling on that all week. I'm like, I cannot believe I saw that happen.
I should ask Kat Kastner on our staff. She came from Duke, our football communications director, and she was just a Duke last summer. So I didn't know if she saw that, if she's ever seen anything like that, because it is really hot in there, as I've heard. I mean, it's not as hot as it is in the studio, but it does get warm in Cameron Indoor.
Yeah,
I
like I
believe.
wasn't as surprised that the girl passed out in the student section, because the Cameron crazies are crazy. Like they pack them in there. But yeah, like was he heat exhaustion? Was he sick? Like that was just insane to me.
I don't know.
But yeah, that's
Fortunately, that hasn't happened at one of
my
our games.
contribution.
Other than that,
Other than that,
it is still reunion season.
oh my gosh.
What do we have next on the calendar?
So we have this weekend the Dr. Rick McGuire
Oh, yes.
Invitational,
That's
and he
exciting.
is coming in town now.
That's great.
I am so excited. He was the track coach here when I was here, and
Mm-hmm.
I had some teammates that were also on the track team. They were jumpers, and his alumni. We hear Caleb Grill talk about Coach Gates. I don't think that there's any other coach that I've ever experienced personally that their alumni will talk about him this exact
yeah.
same way.
Yeah.
Just how amazing he is and how he mentored them and
Yeah.
the life lessons, the life skills. He's just an incredible human being, and I'm
Yep.
so glad that he gets to come back and that we're recognizing
Absolutely.
all that he did for the program.
I would say we should get him on the podcast, but we'd need like a 4-part series.
Yeah.
Coach
Yeah.
can talk.
I mean, he's
There's
here
no
for
doubt.
2.5 days, and that would not be long enough.
It's not enough time.
Not be long enough.
It's just not enough time. I think one thing about him too. I was just talking to somebody in the office about this today. Is his the impact he's had on the positive coaching curriculum at the university.
He created that.
He did. I don't know. Did you know I'm actually a current student in the positive coaching athletic leadership program? Yeah, I'm 3 courses in.
That's amazing.
But when folks in the course, and it's all online, but the instructors will mention Dr. McGuire, and it's like they're talking about like the godfather of the
It's crazy.
of the
Like, he's
industry,
not-
the
yeah.
trade. Yeah, I'm like, I know him. Yeah.
Like, oh, I talked to him the other day. He texted me last
yeah,
night. Like,
yeah. So no, he's the best, and it's gonna be exciting. Has he seen the indoor track yet? Maybe not in
don't
person,
know.
because he lives in California.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. He definitely hasn't seen it in person.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if he's seen it, if they like videoed it or showed
Yeah.
him or anything. We've probably got. Now this is just how my world works. We probably got anywhere between 50 and 70 alumni coming back.
Oh, great.
That seems like a large range, but that's how I operate.
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes people don't know until last minute that they can come, or vice versa. But it's going to be an amazing group.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, he's an institution around here. I mean, he is up there with the Norm Stewarts and the Don Farrows and the Dan Devines and
Absolutely.
the Hy Simmons and the Gary Pinkles. And yeah, absolutely.
But that's this weekend.
Is there an indoor and outdoor track reunion?
Well, I don't know that we will have an outdoor.
All right, we don't have
one
outdoor meets, but
yet.
do we bring them
There
back?
will be.
Maybe in a year or so when we get that track going.
Yeah, we'll have to revisit that. See how many outdoor meets they will host.
That's exciting. What else? Is there a baseball reunion coming up?
Baseball's not until May. Men's and women's golf are having a reunion next weekend around the Texas A&M men's basketball game.
Exciting.
Same weekend as Rally for Ryan.
Oh, that's right. Rally for Ryan is coming up. It'll be
The 10th
once you hear this,
anniversary.
it'll be that's wild. That is crazy, and it's going to be. It's always meaningful and important, but it's great now that Brad and Jen and the family are back here at Mizzou for the first time since
Brad's back.
a couple years.
Jen and the kids never left.
Well, that's true, but he is definitely back. So I'm looking forward to his. I assume he's going to make his annual speech that he does on the floor.
I'm
he
sure
didn't
will.
last year because he wasn't here.
But I think then the whole family will be around him, and I think as a mom now, I like to watch how embarrassed the kids get now that they're older when they're down there talking and
Yeah, they don't. It's Dad. Don't embarrass us. Come on, make this quick. Oh, that's fun. Looking forward to that. That's the Texas A&M game, I believe.
It will
It's
be.
already a sellout,
Yes, it is.
as is the Kentucky game.
Correct.
That's what we do here. We just sell out games.
Yeah, we only have 3 games left that aren't sold out, but they're close. 2, 3.
Yeah, no, I think so.
We just sent
That's right. 3.
It was just circulating around the office before I came over here.
Yeah.
So
Busy times.
So
Softball
fun.
getting ready to go on the road.
softball's getting ready to go on the road.
Baseball's going to Puerto Rico soon.
I know.
How about that?
I asked Coach Jackson if he was brushed up on his Spanish. He said C.
Well, he didn't leave a spot for me on the plane. I wish I could go to that.
That I asked him, man, last year. I was like, I'll go with you. And he's like, yeah, that sounds great. I think he conveniently forgot that conversation.
Yeah. Well, that's convenient. Yeah, everybody's got budgets.
Yeah, you know.
It's budget season.
And I'm not exactly tiny. Can't fit, in a suitcase.
Oh, okay. Are we done here?
I think so.
Who's next week's guest?
Wait, is it next week when I had the idea?
Oh,
No.
yeah. Well, yeah, we got to talk about that one.
Yeah.
We need to get some of our gymnasts in here.
Ooh, I would love that. Let's get Helen Hu in here.
Okay. Sounds good.
I'm putting that out there in the universe.
Speak it into existence.
Yes.
Ryan Cullinan, I know he's listening. Shannon Wilker, who's a veteran of the podcast. He's
Yep.
on the board, isn't he?
Yeah,
He's like
he
got a
is.
prominent spot
He is. It's
up
like,
there next to AD Glenn Milliken.
That's what I was gonna say. Looks like he's the deputy AD, and then
The 4 horsemen there
Yeah.
at the top there.
Dave Matter.
Yeah.
Oh, did you put your picture higher? I guess
I did not. It's been like that since we started the board. I think we need to adjust the fonts a little bit. A little inconsistent there.
We'll clean them up.
Attention to detail's not been great on my end.
We'll have one of our podcast interns go in and redo all the photos.
It took me like 6 months to learn how to make the what's it called, lamination machine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll get there.
I don't think Bob's is even stuck. I think it opened up.
I'm not sure that is Bob. Yeah, I think it's him.
It is.
Yeah. Thanks, Facebook. Okay. Our best Missouri memories have yet to happen. This is Mizzou Storytellers.
I'm Loretta Jones.
And I'm Dave Matter.
We'll talk to you next week.